SMU added another familiar name for SMU fans in a sense with an ACC addition. Jamal Anderson at the linebacker spot. They added him to kind of round out this group. And this is another player that has really, I think, gotten into a situation where maybe a fresh start is just what they needed. And they make the move to SMU. He played in 4 games this year. He redshirted. He played on special teams for the most part. He started a couple games at Clemson over the course of his career, but it just never took off to that next level. He's from a really, really high profile high school in Mill Creek. I believe that's the same high school as Caleb Downs. He might have been in the same class as Caleb Downs. And I actually saw them kick off their season. I might have seen Jamal Anderson all the way back in the day kick off his senior year. In the state of Georgia. So it's kind of funny when things like that, if that's what happened, come full circle. But anyway, big time prospect, just never put it all together at Clemson to have this massive role, but nonetheless was still pretty productive for the role he had. Comes to SMU now with 2 years of eligibility remaining and a chance to, play in this spot and, get into a different role. 6'3", 225, add some really nice size to this room, adds a lot of versatility. I think he could play a couple different spots. And if SMU really kind of wanted to go might have to go a little base defense, I think he could play, out in space a little bit. Had 16 career tackles at Clemson, 3 tackles for loss and a sack over 31 games. So he's the son of former All-Pro NFL running back Jamal Anderson. Those of you who might remember him from the Falcons, he's looking for a fresh start in this SMU defense and looking to make a move and just restart things and see how it goes. If you're looking for somebody to have a little bit higher expectations for, and that's not to slight a Jamal Anderson, but I think it's the reality of the tracking of his career, it's Caden Marshall. Caden Marshall comes into this program after redshirting at Tennessee State in 2024. He went to Bowling Green in 2025 and immediately ends up being a starter for Bowling Green. Started 8 games, started 6 games, ended up making 38 tackles, 4 tackles for loss. In his first career start at Louisville, he notched 8 tackles and a sack. So he is somebody that over the last 2 years has kind of leveled up. This is now an opportunity for him to level up. That said, it's a tough road for him to see the field. He has 3 years of eligibility remaining, I should say. And he is somebody that even when he told me in an interview with me, hey, I'm looking to come in here. I want to work hard. I want to learn the defense, and I want to start in 2027. If I start in 2026, great. Obviously, that's what you want. He's the type of guy to push the players ahead of him, but it's a tall task with what SMU has at linebacker coming back. Nonetheless, he should play a lot right away. He should be in that rotation right there with Alexander Kilgore, Brandon Maiazono, Brandon Booker, that whole group. And you do have a nice piece there that I think, and from what SMU folks have kind of told me, you're looking at somebody who is only scratching the surface. 6'2", 215. He's going to continue to add some weight. And again, was highly recruited out of the transfer portal. Pitt, Arizona State, Kansas State, UAB, Tulsa, and others were after him. Took a couple visits and ended up liking it at SMU, and they were able to lock him down. So that was a big deal for the Mustangs to get him on board, dress the linebacker position. That kind of really fixed a lot of things because SMU did bring in 2 freshman linebackers in Kenneth Goodwin and Isaiah Young, who are now in that room. And while it might be a touch thin this year, we saw a group last year that, I think with the number that they ended up having there was they ended up having 7 in that group. I honestly, now looking back on what we know about that group and now looking at what they're going to have in 2026, I think that is a group that should be improved. You look at the top 5 of that group and you're feeling really good about it. You really, really like where things are headed. Like if you compare the top 5 that they have to Alexander Kilgore, Brandon Maiazono, Justin Medlock, Zakai Barker, and Brandon Booker going into this year, you're thinking, okay, well, Zakai Barker has to take the step up in competition, kind of similar to Caden Marshall, except Caden's like greener. And then you have somebody like Jamal Anderson, who's played snaps in the ACC on a pretty darn good team, coming into your defense room. Justin Medlock just never really broke through. He played some at Utah. And then you have now what we know about Alexander Kilgore, Brandon Maiazono, Brandon Booker. You couple that with that group that they added. I just think you feel better about it as a top five, and then you can play on special teams. Isaiah Young and Kenneth Goodwin, and those guys end up taking snaps off of those top five, that top four, whatever it ends up being, and you're looking at a really good deal there. So I like the linebacker room. The defensive line, I feel better and better about it the more I look at it. And we'll get into more positional breakdowns as we get longer into the offseason, because I know I'm kind of getting to that point where I'm kind of half breaking down the room, trying not to. I'm trying to do a transfer recap. But before we do transfers out from the linebacker room, Justin Medlock and Zakai Barker, two really good dudes who uh, just didn't end up catching on. And then you had Kyle Firm, excuse me, Justin Medlock and Zakai Barker, two really good dudes who didn't end up catching on like I think everybody thought they would. Like, even I was not high on the Justin Medlock take, but I also thought, okay, he played at Utah, like tough, hard nosed. They're going to get something out of him, and it just didn't end up happening. So when you saw the emergence of Brandon Booker, Brandon Maiazono, you thought, okay, all right, he's going to head out and make a move, and he ends up going to Boston College, so that's where he's headed. Then you get Zakai Barker, who has committed to UNT, so he's going right down the road. He's starting a family. I think he got engaged and is doing all that, so their roots are here in a sense now, and he's excited about that, I'm sure. But now he can go drop down to that American Conference level again and go play and do all those things. So I think that's a good situation for him to be in. And if he's healthy, maybe he ends up being kind of an all-conference linebacker for UNT. Kyle Fromm got hurt, and he's had health issues that he's been cleared of, and he's now headed to Liberty. So excited for Kyle Fromm to get a fresh start. Man, I was really excited about him from an athletic perspective, and he tore his ACL, I believe. So that was kind of a tough deal there. But then the kind of tough one, the bugaboo, and this is where, you always you'd love to keep as many young guys as you can, especially if you see them having a future, and SMU did here. But Mark Iannacor ends up going into the portal. I'm going to check his Twitter right now, but I have not seen where he's landed just yet. So he is still looking for a home as it stands, which is just wild to me because he's going to be a really good player somewhere. There it is. 4 hours ago, he signed with UNLV. So he is reuniting with Kyron Chambers. Good for Mark Iannacor. Again, a highly touted prospect that SMU beat out Oklahoma, Washington for. But again, you just can't always keep everyone, and you can't always keep everyone happy. That still exists in today's college football. So when SMU wanted to bring in Cade Marshall, that just kind of ended up happening. So best of luck to Iannacor, but that was a tough one for sure when SMU lost him, just from the future and just kind of seeing where his career was headed. So those are the four linebackers that SMU ended up losing.